Everyone in Portage County and abroad. I'm Gage Wellman, and no, you aren't dreaming. You are wide open and awake for this week's shift of overtime. Let's start with the Kent State football team, and oh boy, it was a mess in Tallahassee, Florida, as the KSU football team was trounced by the 8th-ranked Florida State Seminoles by a final score of 66-10. But the Flashes are idle this weekend, so Josh, who's right next to me, if you don't mind, man, we've got other sports. We don't have just one sport on this campus to talk about. Last night, the Kent State soccer team opened conference play with a 2-1 victory over UMass, while the volleyball team, they also opened up MAC play with a 3-0 loss against Toledo. As I mentioned, Josh is right here next to me. Jay-Z, Hova, good to see you, my man. So we'll dig around the sand trap that was the Flashes in Tallahassee. Not a great game, but as we mentioned, what we expected.
Yeah, you can't go into a game like that and expect Kent State to come out on top. I mean, as much as we love our team, it's hard to expect that.
For real. Let's go to the Kent State soccer team. And now folks at home, I am very, very excited for this team. One of the players I'm keeping my eye on and, just doing my work as a sports anchor, host of Overtime, and then just a general Kent State student, Kelsey Salopek, off to a great start, just coming off her week as being MAC Defender of the Week. She had a great goal against the prior game. The team, let me pull this up for you all, against Ball State, and then against UMass also has the deciding goal, excuse me. So, what are you seeing from this soccer team as they approach Buffalo on Sunday? I will be there, public address announcing.
So yeah, Kelsey was actually one of the players I noted too. She has 4 goals this season. She's looked very well. Samantha Miller too. She's got 3 goals and 3 assists already on the season. They just look, they're having fun. They're playing soccer. I like what I see out of them so far.
Fun bunch indeed. And then we look at the schedule, you got to hunker down for these MAC opponents. And if you look at it, it's nothing but rivals. Buffalo, Eastern Michigan, and then Akron. The Akron series is one I'm excited about. When I went to the Akron game last year, it was here at Dick Stadium, and it was a very close contest. Akron definitely could have taken that one. We'll see what happens in that one, but then you also got to look out for Western Michigan, who last year had a great game, defeated Kent State in the MAC tournament. What teams are you looking at that could give Flashes some trouble down the road?
I mean, I like Akron always. You got to love the Akron-Kent State rivalry. That'll be a fun game to watch for sure. Other MAC teams, Buffalo maybe, could be all fun games for sure.
And then we go to volleyball. Can never forget volleyball, especially when they've already eclipsed their win total from a year ago. And then you've got Mackenzie McGuire also dominating as she does game in and game out, leading the Flashes in kills, in points. Did you pay any attention to volleyball, as I told you in the Overtime HQ group?
Yeah, I mean, volleyball, we talked about them the past few weeks, so obviously I've been gaining some more knowledge. We've been watching them. They look like they're having fun. They're winning more games, which is always a great thing to see, and I think they will continue to win more games, even if they got these tough upcoming opponents like Bowling Green.
Well, let's talk about those tough upcoming opponents. And this is true that really it seemed like all year last year, I've wrote about this, I've talked about this on length. Great team in terms of vibes, in terms of not getting down in big leads, or when you're down by big leads, but let's see. I'm definitely keeping my eye on Akron on October 4th, and then we've mentioned, as our good friend Stone the Savant mentioned, October 7th is actually the 50th anniversary of the volleyball team against the Bobcats. But, the storyline I think really for this volleyball team is who's going to bring in the help for McGuire. I mean, this year, in points right behind her, we've got Macy Moreland. We've got Christina Vigil, who's been a great setter for the Flashes. Maybe Adeline Ginley or maybe our good friend Avery Rigney. But who are you looking at to propel Mackenzie up?
I'm sticking with the KSTV, the group here. Let's go Avery Rigney. I want to see something out of her. I'm looking forward to seeing her and meeting her next semester too. So hopefully she can bring something to the table.
Definitely, for sure. If we look at the schedule, just going based off last year, and I kind of noticed this against Youngstown State, where that was a game last year where I do think the Flashes would have lost. But they dug deep. They got their win on the road in the primetime lights of ESPN Plus and dug it out after 5 sets. So I'm looking at a team like Akron, who the Flashes won, and then each game was pretty close with multiple sets. I'm also looking at Eastern Michigan as well, because that was another team where the Flashes, they were just right there.
I mean, I'm looking at this BG matchup, really. it's going to be a tough one for sure. We look at BG's last matchup against OU. They had a 333% hitting percentage as a team. If we look at Kent State's, it's just not been up there. 105, 194, 94, 120. They got to get that up to match up with BG. And I think BG will obviously come down a little bit. Hopefully Kent can match that too.
Speaking of another OU, our football flashes are idle this week, but John Mateer may be injured, definitely injured, excuse me, won't be playing against Kent State. Any chance? On a scale of 0 to never in my damn dreams, do the Flashes pull this one out?
I would say never in my damn dreams.
That's what I like to hear, Hoba. When we get back, we're discussing something brand new to Overtime, and that's good old-fashioned high school football next. Coming up, don't go nowhere. Welcome back. The seasons and the leaves are changing, so we are also changing here at the Overtime headquarters. We'll be discussing local high school football tonight, highlighted by Walsh Jesuit and Archbishop Hoban. The two split their meetings last year, with Walsh earning its first win over Hoban since 2014, before the Knights answered with a 21-7 victory in the regional final. Now here to break down the action is the tremendously successful Lucas Cochran, everybody. Thank you very much, my friend, and welcome to your debut.
Very excited to be here.
Let's talk about this game between Walsh and Hoban. Kids all around the area, they wake up, they eat breakfast, they put on their pads, and the loser goes home and cries to their mother and their daddy. So set the stage for me, my friend, to anyone who may be unaware. How big is this? How truly big? Will there be people crying tonight?
Probably. The schools have a holiday week designated to this week. Today is Mom Day. They are out there celebrating, they're chanting on their team. It is much more than your average pep rally. This team's, they take it the entire week. That's how much they care about this game. Now last year, Walsh knew they were going to win that game going into that regular season game, and Hoban answered, as you said. So this year, this game's a lot different. Walsh is 5-0, and this is the first time ever they are a clear favorite entering this game. Hoban's 4-1. Their only loss was to one of the best teams in Maryland, but they allowed 50 points in that game, and they scored 28. They also had 30 penalties, so what's your take?
Well, if I'm Hoban, I'm certainly thinking that regardless of who left or who didn't, we won last year in the regional final. So why aren't we favored against Walsh, is what I would say if I was a member of the student body. Go into some of the players on Walsh. Why are they taken so seriously? Or do we have some guys maybe going higher up into the colleges we'll see on Saturday?
So this year, Milan Paris is their top guy. The defense is one of the best defenses they've ever had. And their quarterback, according to the coach, is the best quarterback they've ever had. He can actually throw the ball. The last 2 years, they had Keller Moten, phenomenal quarterback, but he was basically a running back, and they built an offense around him. So when teams faced them, they expected they're going to run, they're going to have QB sneaks, they're going to have designated runs. They couldn't stop it. Last year, broke away for a 60-yard touchdown. They had stopped him. He just went the other way and scored. They took momentum from the start. Last year, they blew it. They almost blew the game. It was 14-13 with about a minute 50 left, and then Keller took over once again, and they won that game for them. That game last year isn't going to be how it is this year. The weather's different. Hoban has home field advantage. As much people don't say that matters. The stadium's not big.
It definitely matters.
They sold out the tickets. There will be people standing at this game. They say it's sold out. They're still going to let people into it. They don't care enough. And it is going to be Brayton Feaster. He is a 6'3", 230-pound running back. There's not much you can do to stop a guy like that.
You just got me fired up. I feel like Coach Gruden. I'm feeling nicey right now, hearing about these. I could write a whole article and a half about the amazing culture of high school football in this beautiful country we call the United States of America. What an amazing thing that we truly have. And, you know, just to give some background on this, we have some great local high school guys here in the Northeast and East Ohio regions. Our very own Akron's very own Trey Tucker leading the NFL in receiving touchdowns right now.
Trey Tucker, this year, he had
of the Vegas Raiders, excuse me.
He had a huge breakout game. 8 catches, 145 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Not many guys are doing that except the top dogs. His speed is unreal. That's really what got him recruited. then you see a guy running roughly a 4.2 coming out of high school. You can't decline that. You got to take that. Cincinnati swung on him and took him, and now he was a 5th-round draft pick and went to the Raiders, and now the Raiders with Geno Smith is using him. This is where it all starts. And a game like tonight, who knows? One of these guys could be the next Trey Tucker. They could be a future MVP. They could be a Super Bowl winner. They could be a Hall of Famer. High school football is where it all begins. Mike Vrabel, New England Patriots head coach, just had his jersey retired last year at Walsh. So this year we'll find out who the next one is.
Shout out Coach Vrabel for sure. And for Tucker, I'm not gonna brag my own horn, toot my own horn here, but I've been waiting for this one. I've been waiting for the breakout of Trey Tucker. I remember I like using the Raiders in Madden, especially when you like play a game with Madden and then with your friends. He's like, all right, random teams, you get 3 teams and a mulligan. And I got the Raiders one year on a mulligan. And I did not know of Tucker yet, but oh my goodness, does this man have gazelle speed. I mean, it's just breakneck. And, you know, with the Raiders, they're good on like paper, especially fantasy. Like Geno is one of the best fantasy quarterbacks, but a lot of that's garbage time. Moving really quickly here, I know we're going to go high school to football here. Do you have any outlook on the Raiders potentially?
I mean, I think this year is a rebuilding year. I think if Geno gets the pieces, I think most important, quarterback's a huge piece. So if Geno can excel with them, I think they can draft a rookie next year who actually can excel. Their backup quarterback right now is a 6th-round pick, and he's not doing much for them.
Great stuff indeed, LC. And not only does this guy know high school football, he knows everything. Well, the hottest story in sports right now is the Cleveland Guardians stealing the AL Central away from the Detroit Tigers. But who will emerge victorious? Coming up. Allow me to set the scene for you. On July 8th, the Detroit Tigers held a 15.5-game lead over the Cleveland Guardians, who had a record of 42-48. Cleveland would go on to climb the mountain, go on a tear, winning game after game after game, and even sweeping Detroit on the road last week on Tuesday. The two teams began a 3-game series that concluded yesterday with the Guardians taking 2 out of 3. Today marks the final series of the season, and only time will tell who takes the AL Central Division. Lexi and Stone, the baseball experts. The lower third says Cleveland and Detroit, so we are going to get into that right before our MVP debate. So, Lexi, what are your thoughts? Do you think Cleveland or Detroit emerges on top?
Oh my God, I'm still on the fence about this. I'll be watching Detroit with a very close eye this series. I don't even know who they play. Boston. Ooh, that's a tough break.
Agreed.
Guards are kind of, I don't want to say cupcake because they haven't, but they're facing the Rangers, and Rangers kind of gave up.
Rangers have kind of given up on the season. DeGrom's already made his final start. Seager and Simeon both not playing. And the Guardians,
that's huge.
Since September 5th, their pitchers have just been on point. Tanner Bibee has an ERA of 1.3. He pitched earlier this week. Joey Cantillo, who should touch the mound this weekend, he has an ERA of 1.04.
I'm so happy you gave Joey Cantillo his flowers. He's
been on
lay,
point ever since we started the 6-game
Hawaiian native
rotation.
for Joey
That
Cantillo.
6-man rotation is doing wonders.
It really is. And in a league with, especially the American League, with 2 guys hitting 50-plus homers, you've got to have great pitching. So, as I set the stage, we have Team Aaron Judge and Team Cal Raleigh, the Big Dumper. So, I'm going to give the ball to Stone. I wish we had a coin. Anyone with coins on the set right now?
Anybody?
No.
Oh, you guys.
We're just going to have to go with Stone as the first. So, Stone, why should Aaron Judge win the MVP of the American League in 2025?
All right, let's set the picture. 2022, Aaron Judge. He comes to the plate, and pitchers are scared. Just scared. Like, you don't want to pitch to him. You're either going to walk him, or if you just pitch to him, he's going to hit a home run. Cal Raleigh this year, he's hit his home runs. He's got 60.
Why are you hitting me? We have
the Dodgers
Blatnick hitting me like Aaron
I
Judge hits a
elbowed.
fastball.
Will the Dodgers groove some pitches in there? Possibly. But I just don't sense that same fear. Like, they're willing to pitch to Cal Raleigh more than they're willing to pitch to Aaron Judge in 2022. So that's why Judge is my pick for MVP. He just puts that it factor into him.
Definitely, most definitely. And a guy who, if you just look at the annals of stat history across baseball, the first player that comes to my mind when comparing 2025 Judge to past player, it's got to be 2001 Barry Bonds. But why compare yourself to history when you can make it? And that's what Cal Raleigh is doing, breaking the glass ceiling and hitting homer after homer as a catcher. Historically, that doesn't happen. Why does Cal Raleigh deserve the MVP, Lexi?
Yeah, so first of all, Raleigh has more home runs than Judge. There is a little asterisk in there, but we're going to ignore that.
You see, Judge, he has less home runs because he gets walked more. He leads the league in walks all these years. OPS is like, we're talking like, out of all the single season OPSs, we're talking like
I have
top
it somewhere.
60s.
Let me put up the OPS. I do have it if you guys want to continue.
Modern day, this season, Aaron Judge has an OPS plus of
114.
Yeah, and an OPS plus of 214. One of the greatest baseball hitters ever, Josh Gibson, had a career OPS plus of 214. So you're talking to me 2025 Aaron Judge is essentially performing at a rate similar to Josh Gibson.
And that's huge. What do you have? Because that's pretty historical right there.
It is. I'll grant you that. I will, whatever. But let's talk about defense output, right? Judge is the right fielder. Raleigh obviously is a catcher. Raleigh is ranked 5th in framing according to Fangraphs. So not only is he a good hitter, he's a good catcher.
This is true, and that is.
I have a rebuttal. I agree. Cal Raleigh is one of the better defensive catchers, but he has not played as defensively as well as.
You wouldn't give him a Gold Glove, would you?
I wouldn't give him a Gold Glove this season. Last season, without a doubt, one of the better defenders in baseball. Aaron Judge has also became a very good defender this season. I don't know if he's going to win the Gold Glove or not, but I think his defensive value, the impact that it's had, Cal Raleigh's slapbacks have put Judge in a position to where I would give him the defensive edge. Or actually, I can't give him really the defensive edge because catcher is the toughest position to play in all of baseball.
All right, time. I'm going to have to go with Aaron Judge.
It's okay.
Because
stats don't lie.
The stats don't lie. And the Yankees, it's going to be that if I had to pick a team out of Seattle, New York to make the World Series, it's got to be New York. And I think that's okay. And last night's edition of Thursday Night Football, the Seattle Seahawks, well, they toyed around with the Arizona Cardinals for a little bit and even let them come back after a solid deficit. But the Seahawks would emerge on top after a Jason Myers 52-yard field goal that was set up after Arizona's kicker, Chad Ryland. He missed the newly implemented kicking zone, setting up Sam Darnold in Seattle at their own 40-yard line. We've got Josh and Connor Faith. There he is. Come in, my big man. How you doing, friends? So, that was an okay game. Nothing crazy. Kind of what I expected out of the most part from two teams, especially in the NFC West. It's a division that's doing quite well right now. All in all, what do you think of this game? Do you think maybe it reminds me of when Russell Westbrook was asked, did the Jazz win this game or did the Thunder lose it? Did you think Seattle won this game or did you think Arizona lost it?
Well, I watched the game last night and I'm going to be honest, Arizona, first half, they were only held to 3 points. And the Seahawks defense, they were showing like they were one of the best in the league. But then you come into the second half, the Cardinals, they actually look sharp. Marvin Harrison Jr., he actually woke up, had a few catches. He had 6 catches for 66 yards and a touchdown, a clutch touchdown in the final 10 minutes. So really, I think the Cardinals lost that game because, like you mentioned, their kicker kicked it out of bounds, and it put Seattle at the 40-yard line, so they had really good field position. So they only had to get, you'd say, about 20, 30 yards,
yep.
And that easily puts Myers into field goal range to kick the go-ahead field goal to win the game. So
Josh, if we're kind of giving Seattle their flowers, and I don't mind that, they've looked solid. They beat Pittsburgh, who's at the top of the AFC North. Where do you see the down the road scenario for Seattle?
Look, Seattle's a good team, right? Like you said, they beat the Steelers. The Steelers, they can be an all right team. They had some mess ups that game. We talked about the Caleb Johnson through the back of the end zone. That one clearly took the Steelers' momentum, and after that, they just weren't the same. I think Seattle could sneak into the playoffs. I don't see much more than that. We look at Sam Darnold last year with the Vikings. Incredible season. No one saw that coming, and he just folds in the playoffs. I mean, looked absolutely terrible. I can't see a world where he does that with the weapons he has now in comparison to last year, which were 20 times better than what he has now. And so I don't think the Seahawks can win a playoff game.
I'm going to have to agree with you on that. I don't see them as a wild card team simply because San Fran, I can see them floating above water with Mac Jones as quarterback. But if Seattle doesn't win that division, and then there's Los Angeles too, I would go with Seattle. Another team I want to talk about, and what in tarnation happened with the Green Bay Packers in Cleveland last weekend? Just humiliating, honestly, especially for Jordan Love. Josh, you want to take this one for me, man?
Look, the Browns, their offense looked absolutely terrible, and that game was one of the most miserable games to watch as just a sports fan for 3/4 of it. And when I watch that, I see Jordan Love throwing interceptions to Grant Delpit, there's just no one near him. Who was he looking at there? What was that read? I don't know. Jordan Love might not even know. Like, I just think the Packers fumbled that game, like, really badly.
And then, Connor, do you think this kind of gives us carte blanche to maybe take the Browns, at least their defense, a little seriously more than the majority of the masses would say?
Well, obviously, Browns defense, specifically their defensive line, they are elite. I mean, you have, obviously, Myles Garrett, one of the best defensive players in the NFL. You have a few other guys as well. Mason Graham, you have the rookie out of Michigan. He looks solid. However, the main problem that gets in the Browns' way is the offense. Their offense is just not sharp enough. You have a quarterback, obviously Joe Flacco. He's been in the NFL since 2008. He just hasn't looked like the way he was when he was on the Browns in 2023, where he led them to the playoffs. So really, I think the only thing that's in the Browns' way is they need to get their stuff together on offense. If they can do that, I could see them making the playoffs, or at the very least, maybe a winning record, like at the very least 9-8. So just as long as they do good on offense and their defense continues performing how they are, I could maybe see them going the distance.
Wow,
but we shall see.
I disagree.
That is bold coming from our Baltimore correspondent for sure. Guy's got the eye on the Ravens. I really want to see what the Browns do at quarterback. I mean, much respect to Joe Flacco. The guy's a Super Bowl MVP. But I do want to see what Gabriel and Sanders can bring. When we get back, we're ending tonight's show in memoriam of all the coaches that were fired since we were last on air. We'll see you on Couch Island. Welcome to the final minute, and for this week, as I mentioned before we went to break, we are going in memoriam for all of the coaches who got fired across multiple different sports since we were last on air. So there was a few. There was Mike Gundy, the legendary coach of Oklahoma State, who took the Cowboys to serious heights. There was Deshaun Foster, who was Chip Kelly's replacement over at UCLA, kind of a hurry hire, I would describe it, and then just kind of got dealt a seriously unfriendly hand. And speaking of unfair, Sandy Brondello of the New York Liberty. Sandy Brondello won the WNBA championship just 1 year ago and gets fired after one playoff loss. It's such a shame that the WNBA doesn't get covered as much as the NFL, MLB, and NBA, because I feel like if say the Eagles this year don't do as good and Sirianni's gone, that would be insane.
It would blow Twitter up.
It would absolutely be all over the internet.
Or if 2020 or 2026, let's say Mark Daigneault for the Thunder is just cooked, it would be like, what?
Be like, how?
So
it's one of those things where
what's going about Sandy?
You only do it unless you have a very specific plan in place, in my opinion. It's almost like you fire the Buckeyes, we lose to Michigan, and everyone clamors for Ryan Day to be fired. And imagine if they follow through with that and Ryan Day was fired. He'd be fired. He'd be hired instantly, and then if you hire a coach and he doesn't hit a home run with it, you're gonna go down even further.
And we're kind of seeing that right now with Alabama as well, with Caleb DeBoer, who I think if we were gonna do this segment later on, he might be next. We also mentioned AJ Hinch might be next. Josh, you were the one streamlining that one.
Look, A.J. Hinch had a huge collapse for the Tigers. I mean, like Stone was talking about earlier, he said he doesn't want to fire A.J. Hinch. When you have such a historic season, 15.5 games up, Hinch, I mean, the Tigers look like they were going to win the division, get a first-round bye, and now they might not even make the wild card spot. How can you take a coach who clearly has lost a locker room and is inspiring zero faith into a new season starting from scratch? I just don't see how you can do it.
Well,
But see, I feel like last year they're in the inverse.
Right.
Like super bad. You could argue, oh, maybe he's going to lose the locker room at some point. But they mesh together. They come together and they make the postseason. And I feel like AJ Hinch, he's won everywhere he's gone. He's won in Detroit. He hasn't had the postseason success in Detroit, obviously. But Houston,
wild card
win.
They collapsed
Houston.
last year in the wild card. They were up 2-1.
No, the division series. The division series.
They sold that series
swept
too.
the Astros and kind of set the pieces in motion that ended the
Baseball is a game of
dynasty.
runs.
I was just about to get
See,
you in
the
about college
Rangers,
football.
the
He's on
Rangers were
baseball.
62 wins, and then they won the World Series at 100 wins. The Tigers, why are we being so lenient with him? He just blew a 15.5 game lead.
That's
There's-
most in MLB history.
And not only that, he blew it by losing to the team chasing them. That is crazy, in my opinion, for baseball.
Lucas, you're a college guy, college football guy. What did you make of the Gundy and Foster fires when you first heard about them?
I think UCLA is a complete meltdown. I am more excited to see the aftermath of that. The guys can transfer right now. They have a 30-day window. If you guys didn't know that already, when a coach is fired in season, if players have not played a certain amount of games, they can transfer in season and be eligible. So that leaves things like, where's the quarterback going to go? Nico came from Tennessee, but back on track. I don't think it's fair the way they treat teams. Mike Gundy brought success, as you said earlier, to the Cowboys, and now they just let him go after a bad start. Granted, 2 years, and then Clemson, 1-3. They aren't firing Dabo. Same thing. He brought success to Clemson. I think Mike Gundy was mistreated, and I think, if anything, it should have been an end-of-year thing.
Yeah, I agree with the whole Mike Gundy. I think it was time to make a change. I mean, I don't think he's adapted. Same thing with Dabo Swinney, who Clemson, I think, in the next couple of years, they have a chance to end up on this kind of downward spiral as things continue to even out in college football.
Let's get our friends up here, Connor and Alexi, involved in this. Connor, are there any NFL coaches you're looking at, perhaps, that are on the hot seat?
Well, one that might be on the hot seat, and the fans have been calling for him to be fired for a while, potentially John Harbaugh. He just needs to capitalize on when it matters most. And I've seen a lot of fans as well, going to go a little bit off here, but Zach Orr, the defensive coordinator, they have actually been calling for him to be fired too, because as of right now, he hasn't been the sharpest defensive coordinator in the league. I mean, he has already given up, you know, a lot of points this series, and actually might be one of the most people that's likely to be fired.
For sure. Lexi, I'm so sorry. We
It's
cannot
fine.
get into
It's
this,
fine.
But she does carry the show either way. Well, folks, our shift has come to an end. For more sports coverage, head to kentstater.com and tune into Sports Corner Monday at 8. I'm Gage Wellman, and on behalf of everyone here on Couch Island, thank you for watching.